Welcome back, everyone. Today is the final day, well, not the final day for E3, but the final day that we're going to do a final part of our E3 series. This is TimingApple. I'm David, and I'm here to talk about, finally, Nintendo. To be honest, in my opinion, this was actually the best one, but that's just me. I'm sure everyone else had other things that they were excited about as well, but for me, this was the most exciting. Yes, I know, Brett.
The big four means part 4 of E3 thing, right? Our fourth E3 video.
I'll get to that in a moment.
That's
but
what I think it means.
That's something to put. That's another meaning then, I guess. But that's not the reason.
First 3 again.
No, we don't. So let's get started. So like previous year, well, actually they didn't do this last year, but like the years before that, they opted out of a traditional conference and instead just uploaded basically a direct style video. They called it their Spotlight. And they just sort of briefly ran through all the stuff they were showing off. And then they also showed off some newer stuff during the Treehouse stream right afterwards, where they were showing extended gameplay looks at their games. But they also announced some new ones as well. They actually are supposed to be doing another one tomorrow, the 15th. But hopefully by now they have revealed every big thing. If there's something else, then we'll probably do an update. But for now, we've got 2 days of streams and their Spotlight worth of stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and start talking about that. They started off by giving a few glimpses of 3 games at once. Actually, 4 games at once. Wait. Yeah, it was like 4 games at once where they showed footage from ARMS, Pokken Tournament, the Switch version of FIFA 18, and also Rocket League, which was the first reveal that Rocket League is coming to Switch. Which is really cool with how Rocket League is, being able to just go up to people with a Switch and actually play against them or with them. It's really good for a game like Rocket League, and I'm really excited about it. And I have the PS4 version, but I got that for free, so I have no problem with buying it again. So I technically haven't bought it yet. But yeah, that's I'm excited about that. That's looks like a lot of fun. And I mean, we've already talked about Pokken Tournament in Part 1 because that's when it was revealed coming to the Switch during the Pokemon Direct. ARMS, we know pretty much everything about by now that we're gonna know about. It releases in 2 days on the 16th. But I'm looking forward to that. The ARMS looks really good, and I tried the test punch, and I had fun. Then they talked about Splatoon 2. Again, this is one that's actually coming out soon, so they didn't really show anything too new. I mean, we've already seen Salmon run bits of the story mode, and of course, a lot of the multiplayer mode during the test fire and trailers. So that was one I think they briefly touched upon, just to remind you, hey, it's coming. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was next, and they actually showed a lot. They revealed a bit about the story, and it doesn't seem like, even though it's called Xenoblade Chronicles 2, like my initial impression was that it was going to be a follow-up to the story of Xenoblade, the original Xenoblade Chronicles, not X, but the original one. But later on, especially in this trailer, when there's a lot of things that seemed like it didn't really match up to what happened with the first one, and how they're sort of like doing this thing where the main character finds this other girl and she can give him a weapon and also power him up in fights. Like, that wasn't really something in the first one or touched upon. I know lore can change, but it was actually revealed later on in an interview during the Treehouse stream when they were giving an extended look at Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that the reason why he's calling it 2 is because, unlike X, where they were mostly focusing on the exploration and leveling up your characters, with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they wanted to go back to how the first one was and mostly focus on telling a good story in an interesting world. So it's a sequel in the sense that it's the same style as the first one, but not necessarily a continuation of the story. Or so it seems for now. And then they showed a trailer for a new Kirby game coming to Switch. They didn't give a proper title, they just called it Kirby. And it does seem like there's some kind of 4-player co-op mode, as well as you being able to call upon enemies to sort of help you out. But that's something that's not really new to the Kirby series. You've been able to do that in past Kirby games as well. It does seem like you can recruit more at a time, and I think that's where the co-op mode sort of comes in. But we also saw a bunch of Kirbys fighting alongside each other at the same time. But yeah, they didn't reveal too much about that. They just sort of, I think it was mostly just the saying, hey, we're making it. Look forward to it. And they said it's coming in 2018. Oh yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They kept the 2017 date, so it is still coming this year. They didn't say when this year. Well, they said holiday. So that could be either November or December. But it is still coming. A lot of people thought it was going to be delayed, but it's not. It's still coming this year, so that's awesome.
Could still be delayed.
Yeah, I guess it could, but they seem to be really adamant about it coming this year. And then, right after that, they give a really, probably my biggest surprise of E3, was that they finally revealed, in case you couldn't tell by the big 4 I had on the piece of paper, they finally said that they are starting development for Metroid Prime 4. Now, if you are any kind of Metroid fan, you have probably been waiting for this for a long time, myself included. I've played, I think the Prime series was probably my first real experience with the Metroid series, and then after that I played Super Metroid and then Metroid Fusion. But, like a lot of people, I have been waiting for just a new Metroid game for a while. I know we got Other M, and I kind of enjoyed that, but it was sort of, it didn't really... It sort of let me down in a way, but I still somewhat enjoyed it. But it's even since then, it's been a while. And just to return to that style that Metroid Prime had with the first-person view and exploration, I just can't wait. Especially, I'm not even, like... I probably shouldn't talk about that because that's spoilers. But yeah, this is a really big deal. They didn't show much. They just showed a trailer with basically a number and a title. But just the fact that it's coming is enough for me. Like, I can't believe it. It's happening, and I am really excited. That was probably my biggest surprise with this E3, is the fact that they're even making a new Metroid game, let alone Metroid Prime 4. And then after that, they... oh wait, I think this was between there. I forgot to put that in there. Right after that, they switched over to one of the lead people at the Pokemon Company. I don't remember his title, but they briefly put the camera over to him so he could say that he wanted to announce that they have started working on a mainline Pokemon game for Switch. So that's awesome, especially since a lot of people were disappointed by the Pokemon Direct that there wasn't a mainline Switch game coming. Well, now they said that they are working on one. It may not come out within the next year. It may take a little longer than a year to come out, but they are working on it, which is kind of what I expected. I didn't really expect them to release a Switch mainline game next year. If they do end up being able to release next year, that's great. But the fact that they're even working on it's sort of like Metroid Prime 4. The fact they're even working on one is good enough for me. Hopefully, we'll be able to get more information about that soon. But for now, it's actually coming, so that's great. And then they showed a new Yoshi game that almost made me think Yoshi's Woolly World at first, just because of how Yoshi looked. But then, like, everything around him was made out of paper and not wool. And that's another one where they didn't have a title beyond just calling it Yoshi. But it's the standard Yoshi fare. You eat Shy Guys to make eggs. You can bump the egg blocks to make more eggs, and then you can, then you can throw eggs at enemies to defeat them. And
in 3 dimensions.
Well, I mean, we've been able to do that with Yoshi Woolly World.
It's almost 4
What about 4
dimensions.
Oh. Brett making jokes.
That wasn't a joke.
All right. But it did look good, but we don't really have much knowledge about what's going on beyond just the normal Yoshi platforming just in like a paper environment, which does look really good. And we don't even have a subtitle for it. And then they showed off more information about Fire Emblem Warriors. They showed a trailer actually highlighting the 2 new characters that are starring in this game. I can't remember their names at this point, but they're both blonde. I remember that. And then they were also showing off some of the other characters that are going to be in the game, like Xander, Chrom, Marth, female Corrin. Brett, what was those?
Kamui.
That was the... What?
What?
That was female
Wait,
Corrin.
what's your question?
No, they called her Corn in the trailer. Like, her name is Corn in the game.
What the hell did we see?
That's for us. That's for Americans, but her name is Kamui.
Well, they're calling her Corn in the game, so she's
What's your
Corn.
question, though?
What was the name of the Hoshido main guy, the samurai dude?
Lobster man. Lobster brother.
What was his name?
I called him Lobster. That's what he was.
Well, the samurai dude from Hoshido is going to be there. And I can't remember anyone else that was going to... I don't remember anyone else that showed off.
The Red Lion.
Well,
Wonder what
they showed those characters that are going to be the game. And they showed a bunch of how the game plays. It's Dynasty Warriors, so it sort of plays like that. But they also added some Fire Emblem stuff to it by the fact that you can actually order. I don't know if they revealed this in the trailer or in the Treehouse thing, but they said that you can switch between the main named characters from Fire Emblem, as well as also order them to go to certain bases to sort of help make sure that base sort of stays yours. And it sort of helps that you can switch between them because you can like be on one side of the map 1 second, then on the other side of the map the other. Having played Hyrule Warriors, that's actually a pretty good thing to be able to do, because like in Hyrule Warriors you had to stay as one character, and it kind of took a while to sometimes run all the way to the other side of the map just because one of your bases over there fell, and that just happens to be the important one. But yeah, so that looks good. It's probably not one of the things I'm most excited about, but I'll probably get around to playing that eventually. It looks interesting. I liked Hyrule Warriors, so this one should be good. And then they also wanted to touch upon the Breath of the Wild DLC that's coming out, where they talked about the first big pack that's coming. There's 2 packs still coming. The first one is called Trial. I think they're calling it Trial of the Sword, or Master Trials or something. But it's going to be coming with the Master difficulty mode, which basically seems to uprank every single enemy. Like wherever in Breath of the Wild there were red Bokoblins, there'll be blue Bokoblins instead, and they added a new tier for gold enemies, where like normally the highest tier was silver. Now there's gold, which I think they talked more about that in the Treehouse thing than the trailer. But yeah. And then they also talked about the Trial of the Sword, which is going to be this extra quest that you can do. And once it's like going through different rooms facing these challenges, but you have to start the trial without any of your gear. You have to start in your underwear with just your Sheikah Slate. Kind of like that one quest where you find the island and it just takes all your stuff away and you have to get that shrine's challenge done with no items. But if you complete that, you can actually get an upgrade to the Master Sword that makes it to where it's at full power all the time, which means you don't have to let it recharge. Dylan, isn't that good? Yeah, Dylan's nodding his head. Yeah, Dylan likes that. And then they also talked about the new costumes that be coming with it: the Korok mask, the Tingle outfit, the Phantom armor, and
Midna helmet.
Yeah, the Midna helmet. And they also showed off the Path of the Hero function, where with this expansion, it will lay out a path on your map of everywhere you've been in the past 200 hours. Even before the DLC came out, they'll like map ever since that, as long as it's been the last 200 hours, which I know I didn't break 100 hours in my playthrough, so it's going to map everything for me. At least according to my Switch, I didn't. What about you, Dylan?
I'm trying to think, because I spent a lot of time in that game, but I don't know.
Well, anyway. And then they also revealed the name of the DLC Pack 2, which is called the Champions Pack, and they didn't really talk about what was in there. But along with that, they also revealed 4 new Amiibo, 1 for each champion coming out, and that's 4 of 13 Amiibo they have announced at E3.
I was say you didn't mention the Metroid Amiibos.
Because I'm not there yet. Spoilers, Dylan. Because they didn't announce that with Metroid Prime 4. They announced it with something else. I'll get to that. But yeah, they announced the Amiibo for each of the champions from Breath of the Wild. They look great. I just hope I can get them easily. That's always the problem with Amiibo, is whether or not you'll be able to get them. But I don't know. We'll see. They look really cool, though. And then they showed off more of Mario plus Rabbids. We talked about that already in the Ubisoft thing. Mario's crossing over with the Rabbids. It kind of plays like XCOM and stuff like that. Then they showed off their big highlight of the show was Super Mario Odyssey, and they showed a trailer about that and revealed an ability with Mario in the game, is that he can throw. So we already knew that he could throw his hat, but we also learned yesterday, but with this, that he can throw his hat to certain enemies and actually possess them, and use their abilities to sort of solve different puzzles and challenges in there. Like he's taken over several enemies. He took over a T-Rex in the trailer, which is probably the coolest thing, like a hyper-realistic T-Rex in a Mario world. It looks weird, but it still is awesome. He's even taken over NPCs, like actual human NPCs, which is probably the weirdest thing about it. And they also revealed like this new song that is actually really cool. It's all jazzy and stuff. And they they said that the mayor of New Donk City is Pauline, which was the character that Donkey Kong kidnapped in the original Donkey Kong, which is awesome.
I don't know why they were calling it New Donk City. I figured
Something
I figured it had something to do with Donkey Kong.
I mean, we don't exactly know.
I like that tie-in though.
And that also that during the game you'll have need of different costumes and hats to do some things or even enter some areas.
He's a man of many hats.
Yep. And yeah, they've just most of the streams that they've been doing and most of the spotlight, well, not really most of the spotlight, but a good chunk of it was dedicated to Super Mario Odyssey. They've just been showing off a lot of things, most of them different levels, and sort of showing off his possessing ability. But they also revealed that it is coming October 27th, which, if you remember, is the same day that Assassin's Creed Origins is coming out. So that's going to be a little interesting. I think Wolfenstein is actually coming out that day, too. So there's 3 big games coming out October 27th. That's going to be a busy day. I don't know if I'll get Wolfenstein, but Super Mario Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Origins are 2 that I was really interested in. So I might choose Super Mario Odyssey first, or Assassin's Creed, just because of how good it looks. But we'll see. And that was all that they covered in the spotlight. Now I'm sort of getting into the little bit that they revealed in their streams. They had a few things left to reveal in their streams, most of them having to do with 3DS, because I think they want to just put their spotlight onto Switch. The biggest thing is that they actually announced a second Metroid game for 3DS called Metroid Samus Returns, which is supposed to be a reimagining or a remake of Metroid 2 for the original Game Boy. But they added different abilities that she could have, along with different challenges that she'd have to face. But I guess the story is kind of the same because you're on the same planet. And you're also trying to get rid of the Metroids there, which is what she was doing in there. And that's when, Dylan, they revealed the 2 Metroid Amiibo. There's going to be a new Amiibo for Samus with her pose sort of crunched over like this. Her pose from the original box art for Metroid 2, if you know what that is. And they also revealed a actual Metroid Amiibo. And they said that the top part of the Amiibo, like the... I'm not even sure what it's called.
The cap of...
Yeah, the cap of the Metroid is going to be squishy, like you'd expect a Metroid to be. So that's awesome. And everyone's going to call him Squishy. And he shall be theirs, and he shall be their Squishy. I've seen that joke already made. And then during their... the Treehouse stream, when they were talking more about Fire Emblem Warriors and actually showing off gameplay, they announced that there's going to be a Chrom and Tiki Amiibo also coming as well. So that's cool. So we have... Yeah, is that all of them? Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I haven't talked about the Mario Odyssey Amiibo. They're also releasing a new line of Amiibo for... Well, it's probably going to be still part of the Mario line, but there's Super Mario Odyssey versions of Mario, Peach, and Bowser, as well as Goomba and Koopa. And along with that, they also announced that the Superstar Saga, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga remake for 3DS is actually a thing and coming. And that's where they sort of read the Goomba and Koopa Amiibos. Because of the Bowser Minion, there's a new mode to the game called Bowser's Minions, where you actually control like a Goomba, Koopas, and stuff, or an army of them to take on another army of minions to try to get Bowser back. I haven't played Superstar Saga, so I'm not quite sure what happened with Bowser in that game, but I guess he got kidnapped or something, so now his minions are trying to save him. So there's a new gameplay mode with that. And the last thing they revealed today, it's sort of on the smaller side of news, but they also revealed that there's a new 3DS game coming called Sushi Striker, The Way of Shushido. It seems to be like some kind of puzzle game where you match plates of sushi, colors, and then you get those plates, and then I think you throw them at your enemy. Looks kind of weird. I don't know if I'm going to really pay all that too much attention to it, but they said that was coming. So they actually had a lot of stuff. They revealed 13 new Amiibo and almost gave me a heart attack. I'm surprised I survived this announcement. I've been waiting so long for this. So
Really wish I could have been here for that.
Yeah, none of y'all were here for
Damn
that.
it, I had to work that day, guys.
I ended up on the floor. But so that was E3. This was the last part of E3. All of this big bombs have been dropped. And now we just look forward to these games actually coming out. So until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.
See you next year.